Hello, I'm just Stanley with Standley Handcrafted, and today we're going to be getting a stronger scent throw from soy wax, or specifically 464. One of the biggest complaints, or the question that I get most often, is how to get a stronger scent throw from soy wax. That's the hot throw when you light the candle. A lot of people run into the issue when you light a soy candle. The scent doesn't really fill the room. It's very light. You can only smell it within like a 2 or 3, maybe 5 foot radius of the candle. And that's usually because people add the fragrance oil way too hot. If you've seen the other video that I've got, that shows how long it takes soy to cool, it's about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So if you add your oils at around 180 to 175 degrees, you've got about 1 hour and 15 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, before that wax solidifies to the point where it holds in the fragrance. So that's a full hour of basically a full candle like this at full melt, just letting off that fragrance. So the lower that you can add your oil, the stronger scent throw you're going to get as an end product. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and melt some soy wax, and we're going to let it cool all the way down, maybe about 5 degrees above the point where it starts to solidify again. So this is probably going to be around 115 to 110 degrees before we add our fragrance oil, just to test and see what kind of a scent throw we get from that. I did this a couple weeks back, but the scent that I used I wasn't really happy with, so I'm going to use a scent that does really well in soy wax, which is Candle Science's Banana Nut Bread. This is a fragrance oil that's rated very well for soy, and it's also a fragrance oil that comes off very strong. So when we actually burn this candle at the end of this demonstration, you're going to be able to smell the candle and tell right away whether or not you got a stronger scent throw. Banana Nut Bread really fills a room, so you're not going to mistake it with florals or something like that. Sometimes you can smell it in the room, but it's not real overpowering. Once you get closer to the candle, you can kind of point it out. Banana Nut Bread, if you walk into a room and it smells like it, you're not going to miss it. So we're going to try a really strong fragrance oil in this soy wax, and we're going to add it at a very low temperature just to see what kind of a mix we get and to see what kind of a hot throw we get mixing it that low. So for this demo, I've already weighed out probably around 22 ounces, which is going to fill the 9-ounce straight jars with Lone Star's medium wooden wicks. Now these wicks are just a touch larger for this jar. I tend to go with a little bit larger wick for soy wax, just because soy is really light when you light it or when you burn it, so the scent throw is typically pretty light. So I go for a little bit larger wick so that the flame gets a little bit hotter, so that it melts the wax a little bit more and you get a little bit better scent throw. Okay, so the soy is heated up to right around 180 degrees. We're going to go ahead and pull it off and let it cool down. Alright, so you can see the wax is right at 120 degrees right now, and it's still fully melted. It's not getting cloudy or starting to turn opaque at all. So I'm going to let that cool down to around 115, maybe closer to 110 before we add the oil. Okay, this thermometer is right at 115, going closer to 110, so it's probably, I don't know, if we want to get precise, it's probably around 112, 113 degrees. As soon as I add this fragrance oil, it's going to dip way down. So, and you can see in there, it's still fully melted. You can see it's starting to get a little thicker. And the other thing we're going to look for when we do pour this is afterwards, I'm adding probably 11% fragrance oil in this. I have 22 ounces of soy wax in here, and I added right around 2.2 ounces or 2.1 ounces of fragrance oil. So just under 12%, which is what 464 can hold. So I'm going to give this a good stir, and then we're going to go ahead and pour these. But like I said, once we pour these, the other thing we're going to look for is, a lot of people say when you add the oil too low, it's not going to bind well. So when we do pour these and they fully harden, if we get any sweating at the top, that's going to be the fragrance oil that didn't get binded, and it'll rise to the top and create little drops of oil. It'll sweat basically at the top of the candle. Now some oils, especially Banana Nut Bread, is a thicker oil, and it can sweat at 12%, 11%. So we might see a little bit. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pour these. I'm going to come around here so you can see it a little bit better. Now you can see this oil is still fully melted. I probably should have added it just a little bit lower, probably 110. But for this demo, this is going to be just fine. I'll go ahead and pull this up. It's 420. That's funny on its own. So it's 420, man, and we're going to go ahead and let these cool. We're going to see how long it takes to cool. Alright, it's 425. You can see that the wax within that 5 minutes is already starting to solidify, and that's exactly what we wanted. I didn't want the wax to sit there for too long, so right now it's basically starting to solidify and lock in that scent a little bit better. Okay, so these candles, it's 4:34, so 14 minutes. It's still a little slushy, but the wax is definitely cooled to where it's no longer letting out the fragrance. So less than 14 minutes, because these actually hardened, well, they're not fully hardened yet, but it was a few minutes before 4:34 that they were like this. So 14 minutes, they're definitely not letting off the fragrance anymore, so we're gonna go ahead and let these cool completely. And then once they harden, I'm gonna light one of them tomorrow, and then I'll give it another few days, and I'll light another one a few days from now just to give it a full 24-hour cure and then a week cure. And then I'm gonna save one of them for about probably 2 to 3 weeks just to give it a good 2 to 3 week cure before we light it to see if there's any scent throw difference between the three. All right, so we're gonna test the first candle. It is 1/12, August 12th. We let these cure around 4:20 yesterday, so it's not a full 24 hours, but we're going to go ahead and run it and see how it goes. And this is banana nut bread. Alright, we'll give that about 2 hours and see how good the scent throw is. The other thing I wanted to point out, that flame's still getting going, but you can look across the top right there. We added around 11, almost 12% fragrance oil to one pound of wax. There is no sweating whatsoever. So I had a few people ask me if adding it that low, it wouldn't bind that well, but you can see it binded perfectly. Alright, so here it is, 2:56, it's almost at the 2 hour mark. That melt pool, it looks a little bigger than it is because of the lip of the glass, but I can smell this one probably about 10 feet away. Definitely not as strong as I'd like it to be. This is the one that's only been curing for about 24 hours, so we'll give the other two a shot and see how well they do. Alright, Kiki and I are going to test out this candle. It's actually August 16th, so I let it go for a couple more days just to give it a little bit more of a cure. And we're going to go ahead and light this one and test it. So 8:28. We're going to let that go for about 2 hours. Alright, so there are the first two, the 12th, the 14th, which we actually did on, I believe, the 15th or 16th. Today is the 25th. So I'm going to go ahead and light this one and see if waiting 2 weeks did anything for the hot throw in this. Alright, so I just blew this out, 2 o'clock. The scent on this thing is no stronger than any of these other ones. So letting it cure for 2 weeks did literally nothing that the 2 or 3 day cure didn't do. Alright, I'm editing this video right now and I figured I'd come on here and say kind of what the results were. I burned all 3 candles, and even though I didn't put it in the video, I did move that candle that I lit on the kitchen counter. I moved that one upstairs. I blew it out immediately. I don't know why I was trying to light it down there and get the same results. So I moved it up to the bathroom. I thought I had video of that one actually going back in at the 2 hour mark and seeing where the scent was, but I guess I didn't record that one. All three candles were pretty much exactly the same. The only one that came out a little bit different was the first one, and that one filled the bathroom, but it didn't venture out too much into the hallway like the other two did. And the only reason I can probably guess that one is because I burned that one probably a little bit short of full 24 hours. I think it was probably at like 22 instead of 24, which didn't make a huge difference, but I think probably letting that cure for a full day or even a full 2 days, it would have been the exact same as the other two. But the other two, the 5-day candle or the 5-day burn and the 2-week burn, those did exactly the same thing. They both went to about the same, it's a pretty big bathroom, as you can see in the video. It filled the bathroom, it goes out of the hallway and into the bedroom a little bit. And those two did the exact same thing. Whether it was 5-day cure or a 2-week cure, it was the exact same. The intensity, the strength, how far it came out was exactly the same. And that's not to say that the 24-hour burn wouldn't have done that. It was still pretty strong. It went out into the hallway a little bit, but it didn't come, it was basically like another 6 or 8 feet like the other two did. And again, I think that would do that at a 48 or probably a 2-day burn, maybe 3 days. So as far as I'm concerned, you do not need to let soy cure for 2, 3, and 4 weeks like some people claim. Although that's up to your testing. If you get good results doing it that way, then by all means do what you want. As far as I'm concerned, I would let soy cure for probably about 2 or 3 days max, and you're going to be more than fine selling that to customers or burning it. I don't see any reason to go past that, especially with this testing. There was just no difference waiting for it to go 2 weeks or even longer. The one takeaway from this that I will suggest is adding your fragrance oils to soy at a much lower temperatures. You probably don't need to go as low as I did at 110. Actually, I think this video was at 112, right around there, give or take a few degrees. But adding your oils much lower than 180, 170, or even 160, because soy takes so long to get to a solidified form, you're going to get a much stronger scent throw when you burn it. Now, I've had some people tell me that they don't get that good of a throw adding it at 120. I don't know why that would be, unless they're just not adding enough oil. Because the only thing you're looking for is good wax, melted wax to oil binding. And as long as the wax is still fully melted, even if it starts to go cloudy a little bit, if you stir that well enough, your oil and your wax is going to mix just fine. The only reason it's not going to mix well is if you're adding too much oil. You're going to get some seepage, but you're going to get that no matter what, even if you add at 180 and 170. So I would suggest definitely adding your oils at a much lower temperature. For soy, anything under 130 and above 110, you're probably going to be just fine. If you have results that are any different, please let me know. I'm going to post all the links down below that are necessary to this video, and if you do have any questions or comments or anything like that, please post them down below. I answer every single one of them, and like always, you can get in touch with me through the website, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, so reach out and say hi or send me a question, and please subscribe for more.